Hi, who made a great day? You're watching Entertainment, and for this video, I'm going to tell you all the deleted scenes, plot lines, and ideas that were scrapped or deleted from Loki Season 1 that we know of as of right now, which is 2 weeks after the finale of Loki. I did with these 2 weeks on purpose to hear some interviews after the show ended, which is when they usually talk about deleted scenes, and they definitely reviewed deleted scenes. And I also waited for the assembled episode of Loki because these two things definitely increased the list. They definitely give us a lot more information on the show. And I definitely have a lot of deleted scenes, a lot of deleted ideas, and a lot of deleted plot lines that I would have definitely not had if I had just done this as soon as the show ended. So I did with these 2 weeks on purpose, and now I have a great list, including scenes that were deleted from the trailer, such as this scene.
Glorious.
And this deleted scene with King Loki, as you can see in this image, which was definitely in the trailer. So definitely make sure to watch until the end of the video so that you can know why these scenes were deleted, so you can know the context of these scenes, like what episode they're going to be on, what was supposed to be happening in these scenes, and so on and so on. And yeah, definitely make sure to watch towards the end because there's a lot of different ideas, and definitely you don't want to miss them. So yeah. But first, I would very much appreciate if you could leave a like and subscribe if you end up enjoying this video or found it interesting, because it would really help out the video if you left a like, and if you subscribe, you would just get a lot more content like this. I also have a lot of Loki content, so you can also check that out. And I'm also going to be doing a deleted scenes video for Black Widow, which probably will come out tomorrow. So yeah, let's make sure to subscribe so you can get all that content on your favorite entertainment, like these type of videos. Okay, now let's get started. So the first thing that got deleted or slash changed was the opening scene of Loki. So Loki opened up with him being in the Avengers Tower, right where he left off in Endgame, with Tony Stark trying to steal the Tesseract and Hulk smashing him, and then like the Tesseract falls and then Loki escapes with it. That scene. But it was actually supposed to open completely different. And what is this deleted scene? What was the deleted scene supposed to be? Well, it was the deleted scene that I showed you from the trailer.
Glorious.
So yeah, that was the deleted scene. That deleted scene was supposed to be a part of a bigger deleted scene, and it was supposed to be Loki, obviously in his Avengers suit, as you can see, in the Stark Tower. And that deleted scene was supposed to be the opening scene of Loki, as director Kate Herron confirmed herself. And it was supposed to be hours before Loki started his invasion on New York. And it was a part of a scene where he was looking at himself in the mirror, and he was saying this is his glorious purpose. And that would have come back later in the episode, obviously, whenever Loki laughs after he sees his life, and he's like, my glorious purpose. So yeah, it was obviously supposed to come back. It makes a lot more sense now that you know that. Probably whenever he lost his glorious purpose, it definitely makes a lot more sense, because that's exactly how it was supposed to start. It was supposed to start with him looking in a mirror before his invasion, saying this is his glorious purpose. So yeah, that was supposed to be the opening scene for Loki, and then obviously they would have cut to this, but they kind of cut it because they thought it was kind of going to ruin the pacing, and it kind of didn't fit right. They said it felt like it should have been part of a bigger montage, but they didn't really know what else to add to it, so they just kind of took it off, and then they just put the opening scene that we have now. So yeah, that's the first deleted scene from Loki. Another huge scene that got deleted from episode 1, right, that would have changed the course of that episode, was going to be a montage where Loki gets set free by Mobius, and Loki ends up visiting different time periods, disgracing mischief such as sex, Pivots taking power, so he collects the Infinity Stones, and the show literally shows him with the Infinity Gauntlet for the Infinity Stones, holds the power, has more sex, shows the bi side of him, which would have definitely pulled more into that side instead of just a conversation. They show aliens and more. But then he's alone in a throne room, he's taking power, but is infected with thoughts that it isn't real because of the TVA's control over free will. So he returns to the TVA, the gauntlet powers down, Mobius is waiting for him, and Loki gives him the honest answers that Mobius wants. Mobius then shows him the sheer power of the TVA. So that was going to be the montage. That would have been completely different from what actually happened in the episode. In the actual episode, Loki escapes by himself, and he's like running around the TVA, and then he sees the Infinity Stones have no power, and then he sees that the TVA is the most powerful thing in the universe. But here, it would have gone this way, with a montage. But that got deleted, most likely because of the sex thing. I don't think they would have let them have that. And also because I think it would have been a lot different, and I think it would have been really a lot of work for a quick montage. I think maybe it also could have been because of that. I'm not entirely sure why they deleted it. They haven't said entirely sure why they did delete it, but that was going to be that scene. But yeah, that sounds like an amazing montage. I personally would have really loved seeing it. It sounds great. I mentioned in Loki with the Infinity Stones, I would have absolutely killed to see that. I mean, that would have looked so cool. I really want to know how Loki feels about it. But at the same time, like it says, deep down he knows it wasn't real, which would have been a pretty nice way to breaking him down. But I don't think it would have been as good as how they did it in the actual episode, which was him looking at his whole life. I think overall that would have worked more emotionally for him. Which is why I think they decided to go that way maybe rather than this montage. But yeah, it's kind of crazy what they had planned, honestly. And we know this was supposed to be a montage because of this image from the Avengers Assembled Loki episode, where they show Michael Waldron, the head writer of Loki, writing down all these ideas for the montage. So yeah, this was supposed to be how they were going to do this montage, and as shown here, that's why we know this was deleted. But yeah, this one's shows the source. Okay, now this one's another deleted scene, and this one comes from also episode 1, and that's supposed to be at the very start. My bad. When Loki gets the ticket, you know that scene, the ticket, and then like the TVA agent prunes the guy that doesn't want to show him his ticket, and then Loki's like, oh no, and he takes out his ticket. Well, yeah, that scene was actually supposed to have a cameo, and this cameo was supposed to be by none other than Rocket Raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy. So as you can see in this image, he was supposed to be in the line, and that line would have been way more full. And yeah, he probably would have been in the TVA because he actually stole Bucky's arm. I think that would have been pretty funny if they actually did do that. Reasons for why they could this was probably because of the pandemic. As you can see in this image, once again, the line's full, a bunch of people are there, and it takes a lot of work to also do the motion capture for Rocket. And I think that they cut it because they couldn't have that much people on set at the time, especially since the pandemic was just starting whenever they were filming episode 1. So I think that's why they had to cut it down and only have 2 people on the line, as you saw in the episode, which I think made it a little bit more creepy. But yeah, that's what happened. But that would have been a pretty funny cameo, in my opinion, especially if it was because he stole Bucky's son. That would have been pretty funny. And another deleted scene from episode 1. Episode 1 has so many deleted scenes, and it's probably because it was the episode where they least knew what they're gonna go with the show. Whereas if you're in episode 3, 4, 5, 6, all those type of things, you already know straight up where the show's going to go, and you already have had a lot of days to be filming. So now you know now you have a great idea of where the show's going, how to do it, and all that type of stuff. Whereas in episode 1, we were still in the experimenting phase, so we're still trying a bunch of different things to see what worked and what didn't work. And yeah, I think that's why that episode has has the most deleted scenes out of all of them. But this is a deleted scene that would have actually made it in, but they cut it somewhat last minute, as it was shown in the trailer, with King Loki looking majestic as always, because Loki always looks majestic. So yeah, it would have been that scene. Yeah, King Loki was supposed to be in one of the memories that Mobius was showing him in that projector, and it would have been Loki being a king, obviously, and he would have turned Thor into a frog, and then Loki takes over the throne of Asgard, becoming King Loki. So Thor challenges him by hitting him with the hammer as a frog, which would have been super funny, and it would have been voiced by Chris Hemsworth himself, Thor. So that would have been really fun. Obviously, he would have had lines since it would have been voiced by him, and he would have just been hitting Loki with Mjolnir as a frog, which that would have looked super funny. That whole shot was already done and everything, but they cut the scene since the next scene was going to be Loki seeing his mother die, and they wanted to keep like a good tone for that scene. They didn't want it to go too funny and then go super serious, and it would have kind of mixed all over the place. No, so they were like, okay, we're gonna keep the DB Cooper scene, but they deleted this scene. So yeah, it's kind of sad that they deleted the scene. I think the scene would have been super cool to see, but I can understand tonally wise and why they would have deleted it, because it would have definitely been complete different tones. But yeah, I think that would have been super funny. Imagine Thor as a frog just hitting Loki. That would have been pretty fun. But yeah, pretty nice. Another deleted scene from Loki episode 2 was supposed to be Loki was supposed to do a lot of the other different stuff whenever they went to go test out the apocalypses, whenever the volcano erupts. They were supposed to have different things there. Like, for example, Loki was going to dance with this one villager in that place. And yeah, he was supposed to dance to her, and he was supposed to do a lot of other stuff, crazy stuff that was not shown. They only showed like one of the things that they did, but they had a lot of different things. They were supposed to have a lot of different fun with it, and yeah, I think it would have been pretty cool to see a lot of different things like that dancing scene. I think that would have been pretty funny. But I think they obviously deleted it for pacing wise. I think they wanted to just keep going on the episode instead of stalling it there, which makes a lot of sense. So yeah, like the director did say that most of the deleted scenes were not because they were bad, but because pacing wise they kind of had to keep going. Okay, another thing that they completely changed off Loki was supposed to be that Loki was only supposed to be 1 season long. It wasn't supposed to have a second season. It was only supposed to be 1 season long. So this definitely shifted a lot of deleted scenes from the show, a lot of deleted ideas they scrapped because of the show, and now I'm about to go into a lot of them. So that's why I'm telling you this right now, because they had to do a lot with the fact that Loki's now getting a season 2 rather than just being a oneer. So yeah, that's gonna be something very big for the show, obviously, because you have to change a lot of the writing, and they definitely did. So let's start with the main thing that they changed, which is huge, and that is that the Timekeepers were supposed to be the main villains of the show. The Timekeepers were always supposed to be the main villains of the show, and so they kind of changed how much seasons this show was going to have, and then they added, obviously, He Who Remains, or Kang, if you want to call him Kang. So he's technically not Kang, he's technically He Who Remains, but I call him Kang. But yeah, basically into the changes into him. So yeah, the Timekeepers were supposed to be the main villain, but then they kind of felt like they were super plain. They kind of felt generic. They kind of felt like, okay, they're just like the regular, typical bad guy behind the evil organization. So they kind of changed that a lot, and they did change that partly because Loki is getting season 2, and they would have enough time to explore this villain rather than just putting him in last minute in the last episode of Loki without having a continuation, which would have been terrible. So yeah, that's one thing that they definitely changed. That was huge, big part of the show that got changed, because if the Timekeepers were the main villains, a lot of episodes would have changed, specifically episode 4. So yeah, and episode 6. So yeah, that's a huge change, and a whole deleted plotline that just got deleted, scrapped, and changed to fit the new villain, He Who Remains. So yeah. Another thing that they would have changed would have been Mobius. He was going to have flashbacks where he had a family, and they were going to really show his life. But then they completely changed that because they found out that Loki's getting a second season, and they wanted to keep this open-ended for a second season. So they completely changed that. They completely scrapped that, and we don't actually know if Mobius has a family outside of TVA or if he doesn't, because they completely changed that. They said that the flashback that they were going to use is no longer canon at all. And that means that they're probably coming up with a different type of writing that they're going to use for season 2, which I do have a theory about, and I can't wait to do a video about that. So definitely subscribe so you don't miss that. But yeah, they completely changed the flashbacks. They completely took them off. And that's also why they took them off Hunter Bay 15. Whenever Sylvie enchants Hunter Bay 15, they also didn't show a flashback because they want to keep it as open as possible for further exploration in season 2, as director Kate Herring said herself. So yeah, that's a pretty big thing, especially for Mobius not showing him his life. I think that's going to become super important in season 2, that I can't wait to see how that really influences season 2. But yeah, they completely took off flashbacks from Mobius' original life. Okay, another deleted scene that got restructured and got put in a different episode was the scene between Sylvie and Loki, where they were in Lamentis and they were in the lake holding hands, and they were like, what makes us Loki is that we don't die. That whole scene was supposed to be at the end of episode 3, but it got moved to episode 4, which obviously it is at episode 4 right now. It's the starting scene of episode 4, and they moved it to leave that cliffhanger at the end of episode 3, whenever they just have no hope to survive, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me personally. I think that was a pretty good cliffhanger, and obviously you want that type of cliffhanger so that people want to tune into the next episode. Whereas if they kept that lake scene, they would have shown the TVA come in and then take them to the TVA, and then that would have been the cliffhanger. But they decided to change that, and they decided to just leave it with them losing all hope, and then leave the lake scene for episode 4. It's a small thing. They kind of changed a little bit of it. They kind of changed a little bit of the editing, but I think overall it works, because I think it left a really good taste for me for episode 3 with that one shot, or that oneer, which was very nice to see. And then I think it started episode 4 really well, just getting you into that mood again and reminding you what happened in the last episode. So I definitely think that worked. I hope that worked for you, but it was a small change, just a restructure. And they did a lot of these type of things according to the Kate Herring, but she hasn't said a lot of them. She only reviewed this one, so yeah, this one's the one I have as of right now. And moving forward in the episodes, moving on to episode 5, at the end of episode 5, there was a scene that got completely restructured. It didn't get deleted, but it got restructured. So the scene wasn't this episode, but it was going to be different originally. And that scene was when Loki and Sylvie would hold hands to enchant Alioth. Well, classic Loki dies saying glorious purpose. That incredible scene, and then Loki and Sylvie enchant Alioth. That was supposed to be a completely different scene. Well, not a completely different scene. It was composed different things were supposed to happen in that scene. And what was supposed to happen in that scene? Well, all the Lokis were supposed to go help Loki enchant Alioth, because obviously Loki's egos are way, way high, and they couldn't look at lower Loki and say that he was better than them. So they went to go help Loki enchant Alioth. So it would have had like a million Lokis, obviously not a million, I'm exaggerating, but like a bunch of Lokis enchanting Alioth along with Sylvie and Tom Hiddleston's original Loki, which that would have been amazing. I think that would have been really, really cool. It would have been especially funny to see Alligator Loki trying to enchant Alioth. I think that would have been awesome to see. And yeah, that would have been that makes a lot of sense. It would have been a pretty good ending to episode 5. I think it makes a lot of sense for all the Lokis to go help enchant Alioth, obviously because of their huge ego that they have, and they can't accept that Loki's better, that one Loki's better than the other Lokis. So that would have made a great scene, great change. But they obviously changed it because obviously you're not gonna have all the Lokis go to the castle and then meet He Who Remains. Obviously that wasn't gonna happen. So it makes sense why they changed it. But I kind of would have liked to see that scene. But like I said, it really does make change. It really does make sense. But also makes sense the context of the scene that the Lokis have such a big ego that they couldn't let our Loki and Sylvie enchant Alioth by themselves. I think that also makes perfect sense. I think that's perfect writing towards Loki. So I like both ways that this could have gone. I really do. I think I would have maybe rather the deleted one with all the other Lokis. But at the same time, I feel like then it would have made no sense for episode 6 whenever they just pop off. So I can understand why they changed it. But yeah, that's another restructured scene that they did end up using, but it got changed drastically. Another thing that they deleted from episode 5 was supposed to be a lot of different Easter eggs. As director Kate Herron said that there was supposed to be a lot of Easter eggs in that episode, obviously in the dumpster. It gave them a chance to make a lot of Easter eggs, like the Thanos copter, obviously, that was shown, which is super fun. But there was supposed to be a lot more deleted Easter eggs and a lot of different shots, as you can see in the trailer from this shot right here. And yeah, we can see that they were supposed to have different angles of shots and all that type of stuff. But they kind of had to cut it down because they couldn't spend so much time on Easter eggs. They wanted to keep the episode going on, which makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I think that would have been cool to see more of that episode. I felt like we could have explored it a little bit more. I wish it would have taken a little bit more time to explore that void. But I still like the episode a lot. Like, I love the episode. So yeah, I guess it worked out at the end. And another thing with that episode was supposed to be that originally there was supposed to be more variants, but obviously they already had a whole ton of variants that they kind of didn't have enough time to put even more. So they just went with these, which I'm very happy for. For example, I think King Loki was supposed to be in that void, but they took him off obviously because they're already going to have President Loki and Classic Loki and this Loki and so many other Lokis that they kind of wanted to maybe keep King Loki for a different type of thing. Maybe even for What If, as we see in this image right here for What If. Who knows? But yeah, that's definitely very interesting to know. Different variants, including King Loki. So yeah, very interesting. I very much find that cool. And moving along with the episodes, in episode 6, they deleted or changed dialogue from the scene where He Who Remains is talking to Loki and Sylvie. And we know this from the assembled episode of Loki when we see Jonathan Majors, who plays He Who Remains, and he is seen telling Loki and Sylvie he's not made exploding chairs to trap them, as well as telling them that he's literally everywhere at once. So they changed that dialogue because clearly that wasn't in the last episode. I do wonder why they changed it. I don't know why they changed it. Maybe it didn't work with the flow of the conversation or something. But I think that would have been very cool to see. Maybe not the exploding chairs one because it would have been a pretty flat joke, I think. But maybe that he's literally everywhere at once. I think that would have been super scary, super interesting to know, and I think it would have been a pretty big hint to his power. And I think they kind of changed that because maybe he doesn't have that power in the MCU. I'm not entirely sure why they changed it, but there we see that they deleted parts of the scene of the conversation between He Who Remains and Loki and Sylvie. Okay, lastly is that Loki was supposed to be completely different. It had completely different endings. Yes, I'm saying endings because there was completely different versions of the endings, as said by Waldron himself, the head writer of Loki. And he said that it was something that was developed over a hiatus. Whenever they stopped filming by the pandemic, they had to stop filming, and they kind of wrote this ending in whenever they stopped filming because of pandemic, which ended up making this ending, which makes a lot of sense. And it kind of makes kind of weird to think they were supposed to have an original ending. Obviously, as we know, as I told you earlier, this Loki show was not supposed to have a season 2, so I can already imagine some type of ending. Maybe like Ravonna would have been stopped in this show, or maybe she would have been turned to the good side. Who knows? And stuff like that. I think that definitely would have changed a lot. I don't think they would have kept it as open-ended as it definitely is. But there is something that was always written there, and that was that the multiverse was always supposed to be born by the end of this show. So it's kind of interesting to think about. I'm very curious to know how this ends up working for Loki season 2. But the multiverse was always supposed to be born at the ending of Loki. But it just went through a lot of different versions, which is super interesting to hear. But yeah, it was always supposed to be multiverse ending, and it was always supposed to be with Loki, his Lois, after he got betrayed by Sylvie. So Sylvie was always supposed to kind of like betray him, and then Loki was supposed to like his Lois feeling betrayed and all that type of stuff. That was always supposed to be the original ending. But they also had a lot of different endings planned a part of this. So they had original endings, then they made this one during the pandemic. Then they had other endings planned just in case Kevin Feige didn't let them do Kang the Conqueror in a Disney Plus show, and instead wanted Kang the Conqueror to be introduced in the movies, obviously. And so they did have different endings planned just in case, but luckily that didn't happen, which is super cool. But yeah, that was the last thing that they changed for the show, which is super interesting, super weird, and it's super funny and super cool. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I very much like this, and yeah, I'm very happy with this ending. I don't know about you, but I'm personally very happy with the ending. Obviously, it would have probably had them fight the real timekeepers, probably kill them, stuff like that. I think obviously would have worked like that because, like I said earlier, they were supposed to be the original villains, the original only villains from the show. So it definitely works very interestingly on the show. I would have been so weird to think of it differently as it is now. But yeah, so many different versions, so many different iterations, so many different ideas thrown in this show, which is super cool. And maybe, who knows, in a different universe, maybe we got the other endings, which is worth to think about. But Loki did open the multiverse, right? But yeah, that's pretty funny, pretty cool, and yeah, I very much am happy with how this show ended for season 1, obviously. And that will be it. This is all the deleted scenes, all the restructured scenes, all the deleted plot lines, all the changed plot lines, everything like that we know as of right now of Loki season 1, which is obviously 2 weeks after Loki ended. This is all that we know as of right now from Loki season 1. So yeah, definitely tell me down in the comments down below which of these plot lines, which of these deleted scenes, plot lines, restructured scenes, and all type of stuff sound the best to you. Like, do you like that Loki getting the Infinity Stones? Do you like showing Mobius' life, having a family? Do you like that the Timekeepers were the original villain? Do you not like that? So on, so on. Definitely tell me that down in the comments down below. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you didn't like. I'm just very curious to know what people think about these deleted scenes, deleted plotlines, and all type of stuff. So definitely tell me that in the comments down below. I'll definitely read them and I'll definitely respond. So make sure to tell me that in the comments down below. In fact, I also put mine down in the comments down below on which one I like the most and which one I like the least. So yeah, do the same thing for yourself. So yeah. As well as, please make sure to leave a like. It would very much help out, especially since it took a long time to get this list together. So it would very much help out if you could please leave a like. So yeah, it would be so nice of you to leave a like. It took a lot of effort, like I said, putting this list of the scenes, the plot lines, and all that type of stuff together. So I had to research a lot. So and especially if you find this video interesting or enjoyable, please leave a like. As well as subscribe so you get a lot more content like this. I also have a lot more content on Loki, and in case you want to check out more of my content on Loki, here's my playlist on Loki. Link will be in the corner, and you can see a lot of videos there, like why is plaguing in Loki, is classic Loki really dead, and so on and so on. So definitely make sure to check out that playlist if you want more content on Loki from myself. So also I'll be doing a lot more content on Loki, like for Loki season 2, predictions and all that type of stuff. So definitely make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. As well as subscribe so you can just get other videos like series and the upcoming series What If, which I definitely think you'll enjoy a lot. In fact, if you want to know about What If, you can check out this video right here that tells you all the stories from What If, every single What If episode, story, and so on that we know as of right now. So if you enjoyed this video, you definitely enjoyed that video. So go ahead and check out that video on What If. You'll definitely want to check it out. There's a lot of really cool stories that are going to be in What If, so definitely go ahead and check that out. As well as check out my video on 10 MCU projects that Loki sets up. As here will be the link in the corner, obviously. And it's just, I think you should definitely see it. It sets up a lot of projects. Obviously, the obvious ones are Spider-Man No Way Home, Multiverse of Madness, and Ant-Man Quantumania. But it actually sets up a lot more than that, like such as Deadpool 2, Avengers 5, and so on and so on. So you definitely want to check out that video. So go ahead and click that link and enjoy the video. I definitely think you'll enjoy it. And that would truly be it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And this is Entertainment out.